Aloha and welcome to the Rockwardness Podcast, where we talk to musicians about where and why they first started playing music, and they play us one of the first songs they ever wrote. We talk about what kept them going and what they're up to now. We're your hosts. I'm Rose Sean.
I'm Terence Leclerc.
And I'm Tony Tancredi.
So this is fun. I'm recording this intro today from my home in beautiful El Sereno, California, which according to Tony is possibly the noisiest place on earth. And you know, he's not wrong. Literally 10 minutes ago, there was a marching band down the block. Yeah. So I'm taking this moment of relative quiet where my dog is not barking to introduce today's guest, who is relatively new to the game. Jazzie Young released her first single in 2019, but music is in her young blood because her dad is former singer of the 60s rock band Youngbloods, Jesse Colin Young. So even though her entree as an artist was just in time for a global pandemic, she's put out 2 EPs and several singles, as well as 10 music videos, all in the last 3 years. She has a strong vision and a way with words, so please enjoy our chat with Californian, Hawaiian, South Carolinian singer-songwriter Jazzie Young.
Yeah.
Or like second
I love
guitar,
the bass.
something like
Same.
that.
Bass is where the sexy resides.
I know. We got the. We're gonna start a band of 3 basses. Just
Oh, that would
us,
be
yeah.
like Spinal Tap.
Yeah, exactly.
God.
Just basses and that's it.
Yeah.
Just
You
bass.
come here for the bass or you leave.
Yeah. You don't like bass? Get out.
Yeah.
Love it.
So what would you guys classify your podcast under, like the genre? Because obviously it has to do with music. But
I classify it as like funny haha.
funny, haha. Is that a...
No. I don't know how to answer
like,
that question.
you know, comedy / music or music / comedy. Because, I mean...
like it centers around like you have an artist, but it's like more about like personality and like getting to know people and like...
Exactly. Like everyone's
Which is
story. Like your
nice,
story.
yeah.
We're here to explore your story. Really.
Yeah.
It's fun. You get a little more personality than just the music. Because like I love
Yeah.
my music, but it's, you know... Sometimes I'm into the sad bops, but I'm not like always depressed. I'm pretty funny.
Well, that's the thing, yeah, because it's like a part of yourself, but it's
Yeah.
not your whole self. And we kind of try to, we try to get more of the whole self, and then also like I guess the things that created the self that is in the music, you know,
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
how you grew up and what you grew up listening to, and you know how you came to music, how you came to songwriting, all these things that kind of you know made
the
Jazzie
person.
Young in
Yeah.
quotes like who she is.
All
Yeah.
of the speed bumps in life. All
Oh
of them.
God.
Yeah.
Every
All of the
single
trauma.
Yeah, every single last bit.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, we say comedy. Don't feel any pressure to be funny because we've had some very unfunny but very beautiful moments on this show. So,
Okay.
It's very serious. The vibe is it's a very serious show.
We're
I
so
feel like I
serious.
need like a coffee that I can just hold
Terrence
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
even
Oh, yeah.
stop smiling while he says it's a serious show.
And of course, we're already recording, aren't we, Tony?
Of course. We're always recording.
Yeah,
Jazzie,
Tony's pretty
welcome.
sneaky.
Hi, Jazzie Young.
Hey.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Sorry, we didn't get a clap, and I really wanted a clap in there.
All right,
clapping.
we're clapping.
I like
Welcome
it.
to Burbank.
Thank you.
Hi.
Burbank wordness.
Welcome to DeToro's house. How's it going?
It's going pretty well, honestly. Pretty chill. I just finished, back in October, I decided that I wanted to write a full-length album as my next project, and I just finished it this past week.
Like
writing it.
whoa.
right.
Congrats.
Just writing it, yeah.
Nice.
I have like 14 songs, and now I'm kind of shopping for producers and stuff like that. So it's been nice because
Sweet.
it's always, I don't know how you guys feel in your artistic roller coaster of life, but I feel like in between projects, you know, like you're kind of like, okay, what do I do next? Like, what is the next thing? Because there's always this idea of like, put out content, keep going. Like otherwise you're falling behind. Or I kind of also just feel like lost when I'm not writing. Like I'm like, what am I doing with my life if I'm not like
Yeah.
creating, which maybe is also like a little bit of anxiety.
I
but-
think we all suffer from
Yeah.
that, though. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it even creates like amazing art. Like,
Yeah.
Because you're just like, what is it? Like you're stuck in that place of just, I need to express this, you know?
Yeah, and
somehow,
sometimes
yeah.
it takes longer than others. Like sometimes I have like a big break where I'm like not writing, and I'm like I feel really frustrated. Where I'm like why won't it come out? And it's like it's like a longer birthing process. And then there's times where you write like 3 songs in like a week.
Yeah.
like I just
Yeah.
wrote 2 songs in a day, and I hadn't written in like a month.
Yeah.
It just came out.
Yeah, I was like, "Ugh," and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. You're like,
Thank
oh,
God.
good. The
Yeah,
music's
it's still there.
the music's not left me.
Yeah, sometimes you're like, oh my God, it's gone forever, which is
No.
so dramatic. But
Well, it's
I feel that, though.
It can feel that way though, especially like the more time passes, the more you're like, damn, am I just it's like full identity crisis. Am I just like not a this anymore?
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty cool that you're deciding to do a full length, because you were saying like the pressure to put out content. I feel like everybody is like max 3 songs at once. Like,
I mean, I've done now 2 EPs. One was 7 songs, one was 5 songs in the past 2 years. And that's like when I started putting out music was in 2020. And I think that was a nice, like, I like the idea of like creating some sort of collective of art, because I feel like it better showcases who I am, my music. And like when someone listens to it, they can get a better idea of who I am as an artist. And I like to kind of create my own little world. And that's been fun. But I think after that, I was like, I think I'm ready for something a little more of a challenge, like for myself. Like I like to grow. So I think being able to create like an entire world and like, what do I want the sound to be like? Like, what do I want to explore? Because I think within albums, like I'm a very versatile person. I don't know if you believe in astrology or whatever. I'm a Gemini, so I'm like very...
Me too.
Oh my God.
High five.
Yeah.
So it's
Shout
like
out.
I
the
got a Gemini moon.
Yeah, like it's there's a lot of facets to myself, as most people, and I think within my art, especially as I get older and grow, like I try to make sure that I'm writing not just about one specific thing. Like I definitely started with like more sad songs and like sad love songs. Like that's where it like originated. That's what was like my way of expressing pain, because I didn't know how to in like my everyday life. But as I grow as an artist, I'm like, I want to be able to explore other facets of my emotional being. And I feel like with this album, I wanted to make sure that I had different parts of myself in there, and it felt really well-rounded in like this array of emotions. So when you listen to it, it's like, there's sad love songs, but there's also like spunky. There's like working through things like people pleasing. There's like, your growth, you're like who you are and where you want to be, and like all these different intimate and funny and sad and beautiful parts of yourself. And I feel like I finally got to the place when I finished the songs where I was like, okay, it feels done.
Yeah.
Like it feels full.
It
At
feels
least
like
in
a
this
whole
portion of
piece.
time, this is like lots of pieces of who I am, not just
Yeah.
this very specific thing.
Well, a full album, I mean, some of my favorite full albums, and they're all from a million years ago, because again, like nobody does that anymore. But like they kind of, I feel like, tell like a whole story.
Yeah.
Like, because it's hard to, I mean, you can tell a whole story in 3 songs, but yeah, like 14 gives you like a whole sort of range of motion for a whole journey. And I'm thinking about like, Dido's album, No Angel, I felt like was one of those. And right around the same time, I don't know if you're familiar with the artist Poe,
Oh yeah.
that sounds really familiar.
but her
maybe.
second album was called Haunted. And
Oh,
it was such,
already love
like,
it.
check it out. No, honestly, check it out,
Okay.
because like it kind of is a narrative in a way, like loosely. It's sort of like all written around the death of her father, and there's these like little snatches of like audio interludes from some, anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. But I think it's a little bit of a lost art, because everybody's so like single focused,
Yeah.
because of the freaking algorithm.
That's the recipe.
Yeah, it's the algorithm, and it's just in general, I think, like the industry, kind of like with movies, it's like they take what has been successful and they're like, we just have to repeat it. And it's like, in doing so, I feel like you cut all of the artistry and creativity out of that
Yeah.
and not allow other things that could be just as successful to grow and to flourish. And it's very restricting.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I just feel like
True.
it doesn't actually really benefit the artists. It doesn't benefit the listener. Like it's not actually allowing us to be expansive. And I think this idea of like niche, like you have to be niche to like be successful. I just don't understand it, because I'm like, no one is one thing. Like that is not who we are. We don't have one little. So why does the art and the artist have to be that?
I mean, the niche thing is really about
Branding.
pleasing the
Yeah.
algorithm. Niche singles is what feeds the algorithm. So please give us more of that. But you're right. That's not what people are.
But then
And
you
back
have
in
to
the
have a
day-
brand too.
Well, sure. Of course.
Gotta be a
But
brand.
you have to be like this, like you have to sell something, right? Like who you are has to be this like idealized dream of something, but it's like what you're selling
Something
isn't real.
Yeah, and it has to be
Yeah.
something understandable.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
Yeah.
but
wait,
it's also like not real. It's like all these artists that are at like the top. They're like, yeah, I have no money.
yeah.
But it's like they're in all these like fancy cars. Like
Right.
some of them obviously do, but most of them you can't really make.
the
So it's
image.
like the image, but it's like they're not actually flourishing. They're selling an image that isn't really real to all these people
Right.
that won't actually make them happy. And
that's
it's
their
like,
producer's car.
yeah. And it's like not community.
Sure.
It's like an idol, but like what is an idol? It's like to place them above you, you are below them. And it's not
Yeah.
it's not the sense of like
That's
I
it.
am like this is me and I'm sharing myself with you and we can see each other and we can be community and we can heal each other. Like that's beautiful. That's what I
love
want.
that.
Yeah.
Like I don't
That
want to
is
be
beautiful.
above anyone. I don't want to be
Right.
idealized. Like I've done that to people. They've done it to me. Like it's not real. Like we're all people. So like I don't ever want to be in that place where it's like fans. Like it's like, no, I want this to be my community.
Right.
And like I am no better than you. You are no better than me. And like I just want us to be able to see each other. And if my music can help you feel seen or understood or whatever, like that in and of itself, like we're connected because you're
Right.
seeing me because I'm writing it from my soul.
Love it.
Yeah. I think that's just
I love that.
It's
Yeah.
very Gemini. You're like seeking your twin to twine.
I am. I'm always
Yeah.
seeking my twin, man. I told my mom, I was like, are you sure I didn't have a twin in the womb? She was like, no, Jasmine. I was like, okay, I'll just make the world my twin.
You're like, yes. She's still locked in the attic.
Yeah.
Let's
What would have been the good answer to that? You're right. Like, I don't know why.
Speaking of, let's go back to your origins. You know,
Okay.
where did you come from?
Oh my God.
Like, where did you get started? This is what we do here. We're just like,
We like to
it's an
rewind.
invitation for
Yeah.
you. Where did the Jazzie come from that you're allowing your audience to see? So, in terms of like growing up and like the music, like what was
Yeah.
music like at an early age for you?
I think like due to the fact that like my dad obviously is a singer-songwriter and my mom, she grew up playing classical music, violin and viola. So I grew up with music around me. My dad is obviously a bit older than most people might. So like I grew up on like Cat Stevens and like Led Zeppelin and the Beatles. But at the same time, like in my generation, like Britney Spears and Avril Lavigne's Let Go and like
I
My
remember
Chemical
those.
Romance. Like it's such an array. So I
It
think
makes things so complicated.
yeah, and I think that's like still to this day, like I love so many types of music and it really depends on my mood and where I am. But as for me writing, I kind of always wrote songs. Like when I was really little, it'd be more like I'm just sitting there while my mom's folding laundry and I'm just like singing random words. Like they were songs. I don't know what I was saying, but it was just like this kind of like creation. And then when I think I was in like 5th grade, maybe 4th, my parents bought me like this song journal to like write things down in. I don't have it here, but I have it back in South Carolina. And it's really funny because there are like, it was like the first time I started like trying to think about songs, but it's like
Yeah.
I couldn't spell. And I'm like little,
We
right?
have to see
Yeah, so it's
this.
like very like
Photos.
abstract
Yeah.
ideas about things. Because like when you're that young, it's like you don't know how to express it. And also like, I don't know if you've lived quite enough to like have a full grasp, but it was like,
yeah.
that was like the beginning. And then when I was about 14, my dad gave me this old Taylor guitar he had that he had originally bought for my mom. And it actually was like one of the few things that survived the forest fire that we had when I was 1. So I was
Oh my
born in Northern
goodness.
California, and then there was a big forest fire and it like destroyed everything. And so we
whoa.
moved to Hawaii.
Wow.
Because that's my parents had like a old coffee farm and they were like, well, we have nothing. Like, let's go there.
I mean, you could do worse.
Oh,
I think.
yeah, we could have done really, like, I'm very lucky. And I was there for 12 years. But the Taylor guitar that actually was made like a year and a couple days, like its birthday is also in June. So it was made like a year after me. So I was like, it's a sign. And he gave that to me. And that's like the first time I wrote a song on the guitar, like with chords.
Wow.
Like it wasn't like as much, it was still abstract because I was still 14 and like trying to figure out how to say things. But it was called Falling from Grace. I remember the title. It's like very dramatic, like a lot
Falling
of,
from
yeah.
Grace. Yeah.
But I don't really remember what I was saying, but it was like the first time I kind of had somewhat of a structure of a song.
I love it. It's like the titles and song subjects come up with when we're super young are so serious, and because we know so much about life.
It's
And also
hilarious.
just
12,
so
you know?
angsty. Like I've always been like a very like, I grew up pretty shy and like I'm very observant, but I've always had like a really hard time like until going to therapy, expressing myself outwardly to people. And so like songwriting really was for a very long time this way of me getting out these emotions that I didn't feel comfortable saying to other people. So it was my way of processing how I felt and expressing the pain that I was feeling and the confusion and the whatever that it is to grow up and to like not have the tools to express that. So it was like my way of getting out of it. So it was very intimate to me, and it felt like so intimate that I really wouldn't show it to anyone because it's like I felt too seen. Like, oh my God, they're going to see this part of me that's so true and so deep and not pretty, and like they won't like me. So it was really for myself for a very long time.
I don't want my parents to know.
Yeah, I don't want them to know that I'm pissed at them.
Right.
I don't want them to see this. So that's what it was for a really long time. And it took a while for me to kind of get out of that and be like, no, like I need to it can't be so precious that I can't share it. And why am I afraid to share myself with other people and be judged? And like, what is that? And how do we work through that? Because this is clearly something that I love and I've just done. Like, no one's told me to do it. It just like comes from me. And yeah, that took a while. And I didn't really start or decide to do music until I graduated college. And I went to college for like business and environmental studies, because I think I was like really afraid still of like pursuing music, you know, because it's it is a crapshoot, and it's like everyone always tells you, oh, like it's really hard and like you probably won't make it and like all these things, and then you're already like insecure and it already feels so personal, so you're just like, oh my God, like
It's
I
tough.
could not possibly, like I have stage fright, so I was like, I could not possibly go in front of these, you know, people and do this, so whatever, I'll just do it for myself and I'll go to college because that's what people do, and I'll get a business degree because I won't regret it, because like you need it for
Right.
everything.
It's practical.
I'll be very practical. Yeah, and then in college, I realized that like you have to give presentations. You have to speak in public.
You can't get away.
And I was like, oh my God, I can't get away from this. I might as well do something I love.
Yeah.
Because I hate this. I hate this, and I'm not very, like, I'm good at it in the sense that I got good grades, but like my brain doesn't work like that. Like that wasn't, so I think that's when I realized I was like, okay, I can't get away from being in front of people. Like
We
this
all
is-
must perform in some way.
Exactly. So that's kind of when I really started like recording for the first time, like my own songs, and like kind of figuring out like, oh, like it's really weird hearing yourself recorded back for the first time when it does not sound the same
It's
way
scary.
it does. Oh, you're like, what is that?
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah. First time I heard myself, I was like,
hate
who's
her.
this idiot? That's really
Yeah.
me. Whoa, this is bad.
It's bad. And especially if you're like self-critical, which
That's
I am,
everybody, right?
and all of us, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're just like, oh my God. So then learning like, how do I sing in like into this where it comes out sounding how I want it to sound, and that's a journey. And a lot of it for me has just been like, I learn really the best from doing and making mistakes, as most of us do. But like I'm pretty stubborn. So it's like doing it, and then you're like, oh, okay, next time I'm gonna do this differently. Or like every time it's like I try to now look at it as just like a journey of like, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm learning. And like, I'm always going to be learning. So like, if I can look at it as like this fun adventure, it takes some of the pressure off of like, okay, like I'm never going to be perfect in this performance or like whatever, like, but as long as I enjoy it, I can come out of it and be like, okay, next time, like this is what I'm going to do. But like, that was cool. And that was a great experience. And like, people don't notice it as much as you notice it yourself.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So like, don't get too stuck on it where you're going to like impede your growth and your ability to do what you love.
Get in your own way. Yeah.
Oh,
Right on.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also, you know, working with people that you feel you can trust really
Yes.
helps too, because it's, you know, I know so little about sound engineering, for example, right?
Same.
If I was trying to, you know, record my first album and also like learn how to engineer, I mean, some people do that, but you know, you're setting yourself up for a lot of frustration, but you know, you don't have to learn everything all at once either.
Exactly.
You can let people help
And
you.
also, yeah, like let people help you. I think that's
Yeah.
like, and you're right, finding people you trust. And I think that's like, that's something I'm learning and like figuring out, okay, what personalities like do I work well with like a producer? Because usually I come in with like the songs written already. So it's more like, okay, how do we make this into what I want it to be overall? And I think finding like what personalities work well with you and like what do you need from a producer to bring out the best in yourself? And it is like, you just kind of have to like go through it and learn. And sometimes it's very frustrating. And I also don't know a lot about sound engineering. That does not come, like technology does not come naturally to me in that sense. Like I'm like, how do you, I don't know what that is.
You read a lot of Tape Operator magazine, from what I can tell.
It just seems really tedious. And I'm like, okay, maybe
Yeah, I think you read a lot of like user manuals for microphones. I'm not even kidding.
I don't have a natural like desire for it. So I'm like, why don't I find people that really love this? And then like I'll learn through the process and then I can get more specific, like, oh, I want this kind of drum, which I'm not really there yet. I'm more like, okay, usually I find different songs for like an essence of like, I want it to go in this direction. Here is the song. I need someone who's a little more detail oriented to be like, okay, I think we should try this instrument and that. And then we listen. I'm like, okay, I hate that. Or I like that. And then we get there. Obviously the more you do it, I think the more like terminology you have and it's easier to communicate with the producer, which is something that I'm trying to work on. Cause it's hard when you're like, I have this essence of something and it's like, you can't describe it. And they're like, what is she talking
Well,
about?
that's where building the relationship is important because,
the shared language.
There is no one language, right? Like you have to build the shared vocabulary because, I mean, I've seen behind the scenes videos or whatever of like very high level producers who are still communicating a do-do-do-do, ba-ba-ba-ba.
But that works. It's
You
like,
know?
give me the schwap schwap.
Yeah, no,
You're like, you know
totally.
exactly what that means.
It's very
the schwap
true.
schwap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should link you up with John Velasquez.
I was just thinking that.
Episode 5, he's a good friend and he is an amazing producer.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
yes, please.
And everything you're saying, I keep it's screaming John in my
Yeah,
head.
he's a
God.
super cool guy,
Yeah.
really talented. He works with like Zella Day and he works with
Broods. I think he did some stuff
I
with
love Broods.
He
the
works-
natives and
He does a lot of stuff with like female singer-songwriters of various
Lily
stripes.
Joy, Lindsay Rose Black.
Oh my God, yeah. I
Yeah.
would love that. At this point, I'm like putting the net out. I'm like, I would
Yeah.
love to, I'm like coffee meet with these producers to see
Yeah.
logistics
Yeah.
and like if we vibe.
But a lot of the things you were talking about like the relationship and the shared language, we kind of had a similar conversation with him on the
my
pod.
God.
So
Yeah, that's
I'm
like
just
his
saying,
specialty, I feel.
maybe.
Yeah, oh my God, please.
There
I
you
can't wait
go.
to link you guys up.
That would be
Found it.
wonderful.
But
I
let's.
love,
Sorry, I
We're
just
gonna go
wanna-
back in time. or-
Yeah. I just wanted to ask you more about the falling from grace. Do you
Yeah.
remember what it was about?
Not entirely. I feel like it was something about seeing someone and them not being who you thought they were. So it was like this idea of like the mask coming off and this person like kind of falling from the pedestal.
Right.
And maybe that was actually about me, but I didn't realize it at the time. But yeah, like there was a few different songs like that around that time when I was starting to write that kind of had a similar topic, which I feel like sometimes, I don't know if any of you write songs, but sometimes I do that where it's like you'll write multiple songs that are like of a similar thing. And then finally you get to the one you're like, this is it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or do you
We're
ever
just
just
flushing 'em out.
Frankenstein them together? You're
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, wait
Yeah.
a minute. Nope. That verse was weak, but this is it.
Yeah.
And now
or
one
it's like
song.
the one I wrote recently, it was like I wrote this whole song, but then I went back and I looked at it, like it was just the lyrics, and I was like, this just feels really generic to me and it feels a little cringy and I can't do this. But I liked 2 lines, and so I just deleted the rest and wrote a completely different song with
Around
those
those 2
lines.
lines?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was like,
That's awesome.
This is it. And
There we go.
it had nothing to do with the other one.
It's funny. I hear that with chord progressions, where it's like there'll be some songs on albums where it's like that's the same chord progression practically. So I just imagine people writing like they've got like this melody and chord progression, and then they write like 3 songs based on it. But just like some of them end up
Yeah.
in one direction or another.
It's surprising, like what do they always say? Like the Beatles wrote like so many songs with like 4 chords on the guitar. Because
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know a lot of chords on the guitar. I don't know how to do bar chords. It's something I'm trying to learn this year.
It hurts.
They hurt,
It hurts.
and I am just being lazy. But I remind myself that because it's true. Like you have the same chords, like even sometimes the same chord progression, and just like depending on the lyrics and like what melody you do on top of that,
Yeah.
it can be like a completely different song.
Oh, 100 different
Totally,
things.
yeah.
Like it's just about like, I guess the creativity. Like you don't, I mean, it's helpful probably to know more chords just for like, oh, I can swap this out for that. and, like-
Overrated.
but I don't do that. It's like all very intuitive. But I write mostly on the piano because I find it a little
Nice.
bit easier to like,
Yeah, it's easier to add a 7
Yeah,
on the
amazing.
piano, I find.
yeah, or just like, oh, what is the sharp? Okay, I just have to move this.
Yeah.
But on the guitar, I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I don't know.
No, I feel that.
Well, so is that the song that you're gonna play? The
Oh my God.
Falling from Grace?
No, because I don't remember it. I told him, I was like, the majority of like the first songs I wrote, I remember like 2 of the titles, but I have no idea and I don't know where they are.
What was the like? You remember the style? Like, was it sort of what musician did it kind of emulate, or
I don't think
anyone?
it was just like, yeah, like it just, I mean, it was on acoustic guitar. So it was
Yeah.
kind of like, I think singer-songwritery, but like I also have a very hard time seeing myself objectively enough to be like, I sound like this person.
Sure,
or
yeah, yeah.
But like that song, it was very just like, bleh, it just came out.
That's
and I'm not
awesome.
sure, like, I think that's a lot of my music. Like I listen to a lot of people, but I never write to be like someone
Yeah.
else, which I know some people do. And like, it can be helpful, but I just find that like for myself, it's better to just be like, get in my own world and just be like, who am I? And I'm just going to say it from my perspective because
Love
like,
that.
that's all I can be. And then in production, you can be like, wow, I really like this song. I want to add some elements of that to like elevate this song that I wrote. But
At a younger age, sometimes people are like, oh, that looks cool, so I'm going to do that, you know? Yeah.
I had honestly, the only songs I had played on guitar before I wrote that was like my dad taught me the chords. So it was like one of his songs.
Oh, cool.
So it was like he taught me like Get Together or something that had like a G and a A minor, which was like my favorite chord for forever because it was sad and
A minor?
moving.
Yeah,
I love it. And so I'd like learned one song of his or something that was like easy. And then I wrote that song and it had nothing to do with that, but it was just like, I think it just kind of like got my brain thinking. Like it was like, oh, like, you know, sometimes you listen to a song and you're like, oh, I really like the title of that. And then all of a sudden you write a song that has something to do with that, but like doesn't sound at all like the song. Like I think sometimes it's just like weird inspiration that like the little brain,
little collective consciousness.
yeah. And then you're like, oh, and then it like doesn't sound anything like that. But you were like, but they inspired me.
That's great. Yeah.
Sorry, you said you didn't actually start recording until like what, 2019 or something?
Yeah, I guess it was summer of 2017, technically. But I didn't put any of that music out. It was like I had met this producer, and he also does engineering, mastering, like pretty much everything in South Carolina, where my parents are from. I had just graduated college, and I was staying with them for the summer before I was moving to LA. And so I was like, oh, I have these songs. Like, I want to try recording. Like, I with someone who's like close. He's like a good guy. He can like teach me. And that was kind of where he talked to me a bit about like song structure, because like I think the way I naturally, even now, structure my songs, sometimes there's like a little funky, like there'll be an extra line or beat in something where it's like, this verse is not the same as the last, because it's just all very intuitive. But he really helped kind of like, again, get my brain thinking about like, okay, well, like usually in a song structure, like this is how it can go. If we're recording it and trying to figure this out, like maybe you need to add like a bridge here or like something to make it feel complete. And so I had a couple songs that I recorded with him over that summer that were more, to me, like experiences. Because I was like, I think like one or two I put out. But then like the longer, I don't know if you guys have this, like the longer it was like I didn't put it out, I was like, I hate the song. I don't want to, you know, like if you don't, like I realized you gotta get it out there and then just be done. But like I had never done that. So I was very still like.
You were feeling really precious.
Oh
I
yeah. And
understand.
also just like, oh my God, like do people like this? Is this like, and it was like such a beginning phase of the sound that I was like, oh, this doesn't quite feel like really where I would be. I was like experimenting, like each thing kind of sounded different. And it was very like, who am I? What's my sound? Like what? And like kind of trying to make some songs production wise what they weren't. And I think that's where I learned like you can enhance a song, but like writing a song with a certain essence and then trying to like production wise change it completely. It is very like when you have a specific vision and it doesn't turn out the way you expected, even if other people are like, that's great because they're not in your head.
Yeah.
It's like not to you. And I think that's like also a really important thing for myself where I'm like, I want to work with producers that help meet me, but in the end, like it's my music and I have to feel good about it.
Yeah.
And they have to be willing, like not have too much ego where it's like, they're going to be like, well, you're a little girl and I'm going to, it's like, no.
Yeah.
I want you to like,
Listen
you know, make
to
me
me.
think and like for sure, like challenge it when there's like, I need to like look at this differently. But in the end, like I have to have the say because if I don't like it, then then you like spend all this money and time and you're like, this isn't what I envisioned.
Well, it sounds
Right,
like
right.
it sounds like 2017 was your moment to kind of learn that a little bit.
Yes, 2017 and 2018, it was
So were those songs that you wrote while you were in school?
Yeah. So I would still write all throughout college, just like for myself and when I was experiencing, sometimes like when I was going through something emotionally, sometimes just because things came out. And then I kind of realized like I had broken up with my college boyfriend and I wrote this one song that I like really liked that was on that. Again, I don't know where it is. But it was called like Creature of Change or something. And it was kind of like this reckoning of realizing that like I had been like living this life based on what everyone else does because like it was comfortable to not change and to be different and like being like, that's actually hindering me kind of. And I wrote that song and I was like, okay, like I gotta try this. And that's when we started recording. But yeah, I wrote all throughout high school and college just like for myself.
Yeah.
But again, it's like somewhere in like some old phone or like on a thing at my home. And it's like, they weren't like fully fleshed out. In college, they got a little bit better, but I think they really started becoming more of a song after I did that recording because I started to think about it in a different way as like a full recorded song and like structure. And I keep it still, I mean, in the end, it comes out how it comes out, but I at least keep that in mind. And it just helps it in the production process to be like, okay, this feels complete instead of like, what is this?
Yeah, I mean, recording definitely puts everything under a microscope in a way that sometimes clarifies the vision
Yeah.
or clarifies the part that like you didn't realize that you've been playing it live, like with a competing bass part for 2 years or something.
And playing it live is so different too. Like
Yeah.
I just did that this past summer was the first time I really played live.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So it was like a couple of my new songs are ones that I released on my latest EP back in August. And that was cool because we had this like full song, I could kind of take it, and I took it to my piano teacher and I was like, okay, this is what the song is with all this production. How do I take that essence and like play it live with just me and my piano? And then like with another one, Wallflower, like, okay, Mike, the producer, he played the guitar because he's a better guitarist than me. I'm going to have him on there because like I'm going to be so annoyed if I'm doing that myself. But because we had some essence, I was like, okay, I can like do this kind of like lulling pick with this like reverberated guitar, and it can just be that and simple. And like that really helped at least me feel like the songs were finished enough to play live.
Yeah, and I love that sound too. It's so funny because I think musicians and songwriters give themselves such a hard time, like, oh, I'm not as good technically at playing this instrument. But like for the audience, like they don't care. They just want like your essence, which you give, you know? Like that reverberated guitar, just even playing just like very gently. It sounds amazing. It's like Brian Eno heaven kind of stuff, you know?
Right.
Like
It is, you're
so
right.
Yeah.
it's like,
Sometimes less is more. And I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that's like what I took for this tour because it was like just me and my dad playing acoustically. And I was like, okay. Like at first I was like, I want someone to play for me, like you said, because I'm not as good. And like, I feel like insecure and like whatever. And then I was like, okay, that's not going to happen. How do I like prepare myself enough so that I feel comfortable, but then also like, I don't need to add all of this. Like these are good songs.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the lyrics, the thought, it's going to translate. I just need to be able to accompany it enough to like have the essence, like you said.
Yeah.
And I think that was like a good lesson for me of like, okay, it doesn't always have to be like the full band production because that's what you see like obviously with the top, right? And that's wonderful. Like I would love that. I'm
At
like,
some
I would
point.
love to have
Yeah.
a band.
Costs a lot of money.
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
expensive. And it's also like knowing people that are like good at this stuff that want to be a part of it, that like, yeah, that you can pay and all
We're
that.
just
So
forever looking for the right people.
we are literally.
In all aspects of our lives.
Just wandering,
So
looking
we-
for the right people.
We found the
Hey,
right
it's like-
people. We feel pretty good about
Yeah.
that.
Rumi
that's
says
nice.
what you're seeking is also seeking you. So
Oh.
who
I
like
knows?
that.
Maybe there's a band listening to this right now
Oh, yeah.
that could hit up Jazzie.
Oh my God, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't that be cool?
That would be so cool.
So were you were touring your songs, opening up for your dad?
I was in the middle really because the way he had structured how he wanted to do his songs, he thought it'd be better for me to be in the middle and give him a break in between sets. So it was like he opened up and he did like, 7 or 8 songs. And then I came in and we did like a duet of Rod Stewart's Reason to Believe. And then I love that song. And then we did our version where I do mostly harmonies for him we put out my dad's version of like Trouble by Cat Stevens.
Oh, yeah, I listened to that.
Yeah, it's
So
great.
I
Sweet.
kind of reworked I had to figure out how to do the harmonies because in that one there was like stacks of them everywhere, and I was like, okay, obviously I'm one person. So I took some of them and then reworked some for live. So we do those together, and then I would do 3 or 4 songs, and he'd get like a break to like rest his voice and like drink water or whatever, and then he'd come back on and do like 2 songs, and then we would do like the last 2 together, and like one was an encore, and it was like
Nice.
the mixture of like Imagine and What's Going On.
I wish I could have seen one of
really
these.
nice.
It
Oh
was
my
really
God.
cool.
That's so
Yeah,
awesome.
it was a nice like we kind of utilized each other to like he kind of warmed up the audience for me, which was really sweet. And then we did a couple together to kind of like shake the nerves, and then I did some, and then so it was like it kind of kept it flowing and interesting with it just being 2 people.
Wow.
And it was
He's like the
Amazing.
best.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know.
That's really
And
sweet.
Very sweet.
I wish that my dad was like a cool musician and not like a shitbag.
Oh my God.
Youngblood.
It's a whole other episode.
Yeah. No. I'm always a little jealous of people with like family bands or couple bands because it
Yeah.
just sounds like the dream.
I know, especially those like sibling, like even like Billie Eilish and Finnish. I'm like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's
and they're so close,
so
you can
dope.
tell, and like their music is so beautiful. I'm like, I want that.
I know.
Like,
Someone
can I
literally
adopt someone
in-house.
to be like that? Yeah, and that knows you so well and you're so comfortable with.
I'm telling you, I was trying to talk my sister into moving to LA for years, and secretly just so she would be in a band with me. But
She knew.
She's like, there's an ulterior
She's
motive.
too smart. She's too smart to move to LA. But actually, funny segue. I did want to ask what brought you to LA what made you want to move to LA if you weren't doing music yet?
Yeah.
From Hawaii, right?
It was from South Carolina.
Oh, South Carolina.
So
at this point, yeah.
Hawaii for 12 years. Then we moved back to South Carolina. My mom's family's from there. So she was
Yeah.
like, I want to be there for my older parents. That was a culture shock.
I bet.
Sure.
But, you know, a lot of great things learned as well. But actually, I think that was just always like, I always wanted to move to LA. Like, I think culturally, weather-wise, everything, like being born in California and growing up in Hawaii, like it was always like the West was just more what felt like my soul.
The West is the best.
Yeah,
Well,
so I
yeah,
was like,
best
that
coast.
reminds me of like home more.
Yeah.
And so I actually had one of my best friends at the time that I grew up with in Hawaii. She lived in LA. And then a friend too from South Carolina that lived there too. So I knew two people.
Oh, wow.
And I was kind of just like, okay.
Had me beat.
Yeah, I know it helps to have one. And like, luckily I lived close to her. So like, I was just like, this is what I want. And like, I knew at that point that I wanted to pursue music, but I didn't really know how or what. I mean, you know, there's never like a guideline.
There is no
Yeah.
one way.
But I think like by moving here and just kind of be like, okay, that's what I'm doing, which like is somewhat of a privilege as well, which I recognize. It was like, okay, well, you just have to kind of figure it out. And then I kind of was like, I need to do this in whatever way feels comfortable for me and not what people are telling me I have to do. Because a lot of people have a lot of opinions, I feel like,
my
about
gosh.
like artistry and how you're supposed to do it and how you get discovered and all this stuff. But it's like, no one actually really knows. There is no specific
There's no
way
formula.
to get there. And it's like, if what people are telling you is like not resonating and it's giving you anxiety and it makes you feel bad, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it that way. And that's where the stubbornness comes in.
Respect.
And I was like, I have to take
Respect.
care of myself and do this in a way where I can show up authentically
Yeah.
and feel good. Cause like, otherwise what am I doing?
Yeah,
And I'm
Right.
listening
why?
to you and who are you?
Yeah.
And why do you know?
Right.
And if you know so much,
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
What are we
just
doing
because
here?
some people got famous
Yeah.
on YouTube doesn't mean that
everyone
it's going to
Everybody,
work.
yeah,
or like
doesn't
for
work
someone on
everybody.
TikTok or like someone
Right.
because they played at this one place live. Like
It's all so
And they
random.
And it's always
probably
changing.
did
It's
it
luck.
doing exactly what you just said, you know, just doing what's right for you.
yeah.
Well, as you
and it's
say,
also
there's a lot of luck involved.
Like I
yeah.
always say that I'm like this, like, yeah, there's talent. Yeah, there's desire. Yeah, there's like, you have to like, there has to be a step of like you putting yourself out there and your art out there to be seen.
Yes.
But like, it is chance, it is luck, and it is connections. I mean, so many
100%.
people
Yeah.
do it that have just those two and none of the rest, and they can build on the talent or they can build on the, you know, like
Which
it's
is so
I mean,
funny.
it's
That's
is-
hilarious.
It's
to
so
me.
true because it is kind of so arbitrary when you see behind the curtain of like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's people who have placements and they need to book those placements and they're like, who's near? Oh, I know this person, you're booked. And
This
it
guy
just
is white and
sometimes has
kinda
nothing
tall.
to do with
Yeah.
anything other than that.
Yeah, and then someone happens to be there that night
Yeah.
that sees it, or somehow someone sees some video and then it goes
and they
viral.
need a booking for their TV
Or they're like,
their
I really
video,
believe in
and
this
they're like,
person
yeah.
because it resonates with me personally, and I
Yeah.
happen to be on this board,
Yeah.
or I know this person, and
Yeah.
like it really is just it's luck.
It's luck.
And it's connection.
It's-
Because some
yeah.
people are
Well,
like
right.
born into where it's like you grow up in LA,
Yeah.
you're born into that you all go to the same school, like you know this person through this person.
Yeah.
That helps. And you just can meet producers easier. You can like pay for the bands easier, like all these things. And like I have
Yeah, that's true.
a little bit of that in the sense that like my parents understand the job and like respect it. And I didn't have to like fight them, be like, I want to be a musician. And they're like,
Yeah.
you'll never make it
That's
in this
true.
town.
Emotional support is very
Yeah,
important.
emotional support and like
Yeah.
in general being able to play with my dad, like that is a gift
Yeah.
that not a lot of people get. And to be able to experience that in a way that's like supportive with something that is scary for me, that is a privilege.
I mean, in
Yeah,
that
that's
sense,
awesome.
you've already won. Playing with your dad sounds like heaven.
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was like a lot of
He's amazing.
learning, and it was a cool way for us to bond because he's not like a big, as much as he is a songwriter, he's not, you know, he's in his 80s. So he's not like, you know, this like really open, like a, you know, smushy guy who's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
expressing his feelings all the time. He's very like, I mean, I've seen him cry. Like he's not like a macho guy, but it was a cool way to bond doing something where I
Yeah.
felt like we kind of connected on like as adults
That's beautiful.
through something that we both love. And like, I think that's like the most bonded we've felt probably in a while.
Oh, that's
I
the
love
best.
that. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And we love supportive parents, but
Yeah.
for your supportive parents to then also be like involved
and like book you on
materially is
shows.
cool. Yeah. Yeah.
I know,
Thanks,
literally,
Dad.
like allow
Yeah.
me to come along and like support me and like make me feel comfortable in this,
Yeah.
like, because that is scary, you know, like it's
yeah.
always it's like, well, how will they like it? And I was like, oh my God, but they're older. Like, are they going to like hate this music? Or like, you know, or like, are they just here?
Did I
and
say
just,
fuck too many times?
Yeah. Or like, are they just going to kind of like sit through it? Like, okay, his daughter's here. And I think there were a few people that were like surprised that I was like good, because I think there is that sense of like, oh, this is my daughter. And he's played with all of his kids. I'm the last, I'm the youngest. And like, he had a band with my older brother, a band with my two older brothers that are half. My sister used to sing with him. So like, he's incorporated them throughout.
Shout out Pops.
Yeah, and they aren't like, they're more like they play bass or like drums, and I'm like the one who's like creating my own music, so it's a little different. But it was like he's done this for everyone, and I think there was some people that were like, oh wait, oh she's actually good. Like it's not just like, oh we have to sit through this like you know his daughter's here, yay.
my goodness.
You know, so
Golf
there, I
clap,
could feel that when they would like loosen up and be like, oh okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And that
like,
made me feel better. It's like, okay, cool.
Right. Oh, she is
like,
good.
yeah.
Speaking of you being good, though, can we hear a song?
Yeah.
Sure.
What old song are you going to play us?
So I told him that like the only ones that I have the lyrics and chords to are from my like first EP that I put out. So like 2019, 2020. And I was going to play Spaghetti Stains because I love that song. And it's like pretty well loved on Spotify, but also I've never played it live.
Oh,
that's
cool.
exciting.
Oh, exclusive.
Yeah,
I thought that would be fun.
All right,
Sweet.
let's hear it.
So this is Spaghetti Stains. Spaghetti stains on my sweatshirt. I don't wanna wash it 'cause it hurts. Maybe everything just hurts. And morning comes around again. Another day spent in bed. And I don't wanna move an inch. Oh, the world spins in circles, it makes me dizzy. And the people turning clockwise, hands held high, swaying side to side, guess they got it figured out. And I'm the one that's left out. Where have you been? Where have you been? We haven't seen you in a while. I say I'm fine, don't waste your time. I'm just living in the walls inside my mind. And I don't wanna go outside. Is it a new day or a new month? No, I can't tell anymore. How are you so sure? And all the darkness stretches out, but I can see all the things that you left out. Staring up at the moon, maybe I'll be someone new. Oh, the world spins in circles, it makes me dizzy. And the people turning clockwise, hands held high, swaying side to side, guess they got it figured out. And I'm the one that's left out. Where have you been? Where have you been? We haven't seen you in a while. I say I'm fine, don't waste your time. I'm just living in the walls inside my mind. And I don't wanna go outside. No, I don't wanna go outside.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's beautiful.
You have an amazing
Thank
voice.
you. Oh, thank you.
So you said that's the first time you've ever performed that?
Live, yeah.
Ooh.
Wow.
Exclusive.
That's amazing.
Rock
Yeah.
Witness exclusive.
That's one of like, on the first EP, that was like one of the songs that I wrote that I was like, I really like this song. Like even as it is by itself, like acoustically, where I was like, oh, okay. Yes.
Well,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
It's
I
haunting,
listened.
yeah.
I listened to the recording. I mean, you know, I kind of listened through everything Spotify offered.
Yeah.
But it's really beautiful, just solo and acoustic. I mean, I think it really captures the sort of melancholic nature.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically a 2020 song,
Yeah, it's a
right?
mental health song for sure. Yeah. And I think that was like when people that don't have mental health issues naturally were experiencing it kind of collectively. And I think it was my way of like, okay, well, I already have, I have depression, anxiety, as most artists do. But kind of my way of figuring it out, and then also being like, there's light at the end of the tunnel for people that are experiencing this for the first time. Like, it's okay to feel this way. Like, we all feel this way, but like, you have to know it's not, there is an end to the,
Right.
like, because when you're in that depressive cycle, you're like, it's never gonna end, like it can feel that way. And like, kind of just being like, it does end.
But it's
everything does.
It's so timely too, like, because what's that line? Something about like, has it been a day or a
month?
week? Yeah. Right. Which again, like everybody got to experience.
Yeah, where it was just time passes. Like even now, I feel like time is not the same. Like I'm still
Totally.
like, what day is it? Like
No,
it's
I know.
2023. It's April.
We've been
almost.
We've been
This is
back
all
to,
like a fever dream, and we're still all
yeah. I
quarantined.
mean, we've been back to pretty much normal for a while, and it still feels like time.
It's
is
not
a
the
strange
same.
elastic thing.
There was something that shifted that I think, and in some ways it was, I think, really eye-opening and good, obviously. And in other ways, obviously very painful and traumatizing. And I think like as a collective, we have not really, like I look back and I'm like, oh my God, what was that?
Yeah.
And I have not processed that. I just kind of like,
You know, it reminds me in Almost Famous, that scene when they're on the plane and the plane's about to crash and they are all like, and they all like freak out, and then the plane stabilizes and everyone's just like quiet with each other. That's what the world feels like, kind
Literally,
of.
we're all like,
Where it's just like, yeah, all that stuff that we said in 2020, what about that? It's like,
I
what?
feel like that was
I don't
like
remember.
that. Like the second
Yeah.
half of 2021 was like that for me, where
Yeah.
it was like,
Still waking
are we
up.
okay?
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
we survive? I'm not sure. Is
definitely.
it over?
I think not until like fall of 2021 was like the first time that I like went out or like went to someone's birthday party since 2020, because I have like some like autoimmune issues and stuff, and like was doing a lot of health stuff during that time, so I was like very cautious, probably more than a lot of people my age were. And that was like the first time I was like, and then I remember being around people again like that much, and I was like, what the fuck do I talk about? I don't want to cuss on the podcast. I don't know if
you can.
No, no,
You can
okay.
fucking cuss. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, what the fuck do I talk about? Like, and I literally could not have a conversation with someone except for like, wow, yeah, like that was crazy. How are you feeling? Or
Did you
like
see that
the
show?
weather. Yeah. Like it was like I could not think of something, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so socially awkward.
I went
Oh,
through
And I
yeah.
was
We
so
lost it.
drained too from being around people because I wasn't used to it.
It's so interesting you say that, because I really feel like what you were saying earlier about being with people and exchanging and communing, there's like an energy exchange that exists when you're live with people.
Yeah.
That is, if you're not used to it, when you're reintroduced to it, it's super draining, where you're like, oh yeah, like
Yeah.
just even being quiet in the presence of someone
Else.
both fills you and also can be incredibly taxing on your
Like energetic being.
yes.
No, it really like,
Right.
and I think I'm somewhat introverted in the sense that like, I really enjoy being around people, but I do need alone time. Like that's where I
Yeah.
create, that's where I restore, and I'm very sensitive. So like being around people can be really exhausting.
Yeah.
And so like then having it like amplified like that for people that aren't like naturally extroverted, I remember just being like, oh, like how am I ever going to talk to a person again? Like, am I like, what is this? What do I do? And like just kind of laughing and making a joke about it, because like that's how I deal with pain is humor.
Yeah.
I felt, well, I mean, I
You're in
felt
good
the same
company.
way.
Good
Like
company,
when, mid 2021, people are starting to be vaccinated, and there was like
Yeah.
outdoor shows and like, I remember just waffling so hard over whether or not to even have a birthday party. Glad I did. That's how this guy came into the mix.
That's
Oh, that's how you guys met?
right. Well, it's funny.
Yeah.
That's
Rose
how
and I-
those two met.
Yeah, Rose and I were talking. Tony was eavesdropping. We found this out in another podcast. We learn about ourselves as much as about musicians.
Yeah.
on this
I love it.
podcast.
Oh, I love that.
But at that time, like, I really felt like I was just a teenager again, like learning how to be at a party. It was so weird because I'm like naturally very much an extrovert, but
Yeah.
I just remember feeling like, so, hey, hey guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you don't know what to do with your hands.
Especially meeting, and then just like the experience of like meeting new people again.
Yeah. Oh my God.
We're still, I mean, see, there's a lot to process. We're
my
still
God,
obviously all processing it, but it is nice that you're able to play live shows now. I mean, it's kind of, you started the journey at least of the sort of public musical journey at an interesting time because you kind of, it was bedroom pop by definition because you couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Although actually, I did see that you made a line of like loungewear as merch, which is
That's
fucking
genius.
ingenious.
Yeah.
I know. I thought it did okay. It wasn't like a crazy. Also, I'd like never done merch, but I was like, oh, I'm putting out this first EP. Like, again, like I get very consumed in like what the world is, and I was like, I want to make merch, but I don't want just like a shirt with my face on it because no one knows me. Why do they want my face on? Like, I don't even really want that. So I was like, how do I like make something that's also creative that can maybe get publicity? And I was like, oh, something that's like active, like leisure wear. And it was it was a cool idea for sure.
Do you have any more? I
See,
want to buy some.
That's that business.
I was
I have some
actually,
sweaters.
I was going to say, do
The
you have
business
any like in
degree.
your garage?
Yeah,
or
let's
something?
go.
Yeah, I could just give them to you guys.
Oh, I'll pay for it.
have
I don't
some.
mind at all.
It's really clever.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
shout out
artist.
to the business degree.
Yeah,
right?
and
You
it was
know?
like,
Yeah.
and it's fun to be like, again, like I love fashion and I love like with music videos, like I've made music videos for every single song that I do because I love storytelling so much.
Yeah.
So like when it's a song, it's like it's the writing, it's the production, and then within that world, it's like what story do I want to tell visually that's gonna like enhance this, and like the color palettes, like everything, I'm like very actively engaged in.
Love it.
And I think it just like it's fun, and it's like this full encompassing like it's like
Yeah,
your
and
own little
your videos
thing.
look great too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
they're
look really
very.
great.
I'm more interested in like the narrative, kind of like I love movies, like I love movies and TV shows. So like I like to base music videos more off of that than what music videos are, because like I just don't resonate with like, which I'm all down for. Like if you want to be hot and just be hot, like do it. Like I
yeah.
am.
There's
but
a time
that's
and a
not
place.
who. That's like not who I
to be
am.
hot.
Yeah. In a video, you know what I'm saying?
But like also like in videos, like there's like there's like different kinds of what people say music videos are, and like I feel like I always was just like I like narration, I like cinema, and like how my songs are so personal. I was like, I want to be able to like make a mini movie and like that be the music video because that's what resonates with me.
Well,
and
you
I find
did a
it more
trilogy,
interesting.
right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
so
I picked
awesome.
like 3 songs and I was like, well, this is how they connect like emotionally, my journey. And then like I want to tell that. And we did it with dancers. It was really cool.
Yeah, like your songs are very cinematic. Like 27 Club, like it sounds like it's from a movie. Like especially
Totally,
the opening, you
totally.
know, like
Yeah.
just
I know that opening was so fun.
it made me think of Marilyn Monroe. Like right, I mean, that's the kind of,
that's what I
yeah,
thought. I
that's-
was like, oh, we
yeah.
got to do this. And then I was like, I want there to be like birthday stuff. And then it to sound like blowing out your candles. It was great. The producer was so nice about it. He was like, okay.
Yeah.
There was like, I do that a lot in like another song. I was like, I want this to sound like wind. And this one to sound
Yeah.
like a heartbeat. Like I like when there's like essence of nature. And he was really sweet about like helping me find that sound that's also musical.
But
Yeah.
truly though, like I feel like if a producer doesn't want to like play that way with you'd fuck them because like
I think in this next album, I want it to be a little more like indie folk rock, but like with a little bit of dark pop, but like Lana Del Rey Ultraviolence era, or like Lorde Pure Heroine, but like just like a tinge. Like I really like the darker sound, but I also I love that kind of like indie, but also rock. But it's a soft rock, like Fleetwood Mac, like that kind of thing where it's not like. Because I don't really have the vocals of like the like 80s like rockers who are like, whoa, like I mean, I guess if I tried really hard, I could get there, but
I'm
it's
not
like
heart. I wish I was.
yeah, like or like
You got a
Hayley
heart
Williams
t-shirt,
or something
yeah.
where you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, they belt, and that's just not where I naturally lie. Like my voice has gotten stronger as I've like worked on it, but I think I've always loved that sound, so I thought it'd be a fun way to explore.
Do you have something new you want to play for us?
Because you said you just finished writing.
I know.
right?
I don't have any of them memorized at this point because I've written all 14, so it's like I forget them.
Oh, I know.
At this
I don't
point.
remember anything.
Oh.
And so I'm like,
That's common.
yeah. So now I'm like, oh, I'd have to like be looking on my notes app, and then it would be stopping when I scroll it, kind of thing. I'm not
I'm a
quite
great
sure
scroller.
if it's finished yet, but if you have me back, I can do that again before it comes out or something. When I have it
sure.
memorized, I should have memorized one of them. I got very focused, and I was like, okay, let's remember spaghetti stains. So the past 2 days, I was like, okay, we got to play this and like get this back in our bones. And then I haven't played them, and I like forget all of them. But I'm trying to like when this is done, I was like, okay, every day I'm gonna like work on a song and try and memorize it and then record it in my like voice notes.
Oh, hell yeah.
So that I have at least like something. So like when I have a producer, I can be like,
Here you
this
go.
is like a very
Oh,
shitty
yeah.
version of what the songs are.
Yeah.
And then I've been creating a playlist of like sonically pieces that I want to take for the album. So it's like I have something to show them so that we can see like
Voice memo is definitely your friend.
Yeah.
yes, because it's not
yeah.
a great, but it's like, okay, it's there. It's something I can send so they can know what we're working with.
So the batch of songs is done, and you're just
They're
looking
done.
for a producer.
Yeah, I wanted to wait until like I had like 11 for a bit, like in the winter, and I was like, I really wanted like 12 to 13 songs. That felt good. And then I had realized that there was one song I wrote like a year or so ago that I really liked, but I didn't record. And I played it again and I was like, this really fits with this. But I wanted enough songs that it was like, if I record all of them and then like one or two, I was like, I don't know if these really fit now. I'd still have at least 11 songs. Yeah. So I wanted to give myself some room, which I've never really done before, but I'm hoping that all of them could be on it. But I wanted to be like done so I could be like, okay, when I'm looking for a producer, I'm not like, oh, well, I'm almost ready, but I have a couple songs,
Gotcha.
because I wasn't
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
what they were going to be.
So you're, what is it called? Crossing the T's and dotting the I's?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm very like organized.
Ducks in a row.
Ducks in
Getting
a
my
row.
ducks in a row. But yeah,
Which
when
is
I
such
did
a
that.
cute expression.
It is cute.
Where did
It
it
is
come from?
adorable.
You imagine little ducks. Stay.
I think it's because when they follow the mom, they're like in a row.
Yeah,
I love
you
that. That's
got,
even
you
cuter
got all
now.
your little babies
Oh, my
in
baby.
a row.
Yeah. So now
So
I'm
it's
like,
the mama duck saying,
Yeah.
I got to get my ducks in a
I got
row.
it, yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's so
I
cute.
love just seeing how this
Yeah.
is unfolding for you right now.
All of us are just like,
Terrence
mind blown.
really
Mind blown.
loves like metaphors and analogies. So
I get that because a lot of them you really don't know where they come from.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
there's
for
some
sure.
you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like what? I don't know where that would. Who made this up and why did we all just go with it?
Yeah.
yeah,
A horse
like
apiece?
like the spitting image.
Yeah.
Spitting image.
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
what
Who was
does that
like,
mean?
this is like you're the spitting image of. It's like what? Who
Is
came
that
up with
like looking in a, like you're looking in a pond, you see a reflection, but why would you spit at that? Like,
Yeah, that sounds like self-hatred, and
know.
maybe you need therapy.
Right. Same person who was like two birds, one stone. That person's violent.
That person's literally
Yeah.
murdering.
It's like, don't listen to them. New
I
expression.
say that expression all the time.
Really?
Yeah, because I like to be efficient. So I'm like, I'm gonna knock this out. Two birds, one stone. You're right. And now I can only
murderous.
think of
Yeah.
murder.
Yeah.
So I'm never saying it again.
all right, so say no to murder, don't murder.
Yeah. This podcast is
That's
anti-murder.
Tony's- that's
Anti-murder.
anti-murder. Yes.
Anti-murder.
We would like to come out as being publicly anti-murder.
Yeah, yeah.
But
In
I
case
would,
anyone was
Write it
wondering.
down.
but I would like to point out that Tony just like shouted out his own DJ name, like really low key.
Oh, that's it's Don T Murder. It's like my alter ego.
Do you DJ?
I know. I like to call it like curating playlists. I'm a waiter. I serve up the jams.
Oh my goodness. And the puns.
I'm a waiter. I serve up the jam. I like that. Okay. I get it also because I mean DJing. Now it's like I'm a musician or an act. It's like you're
Yeah,
like, what
I'm
does
a
that
DJ. It's
mean?
like,
I'm somebody who you probably think has good taste, and I am going to
Play
play
it
a
for you.
playlist.
Play my iPhone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That is a skill
So
though.
small D, small J,
Curating
yeah.
a good playlist.
Curating.
Because you have to really you got to narrow it down.
It's all about
I'm not very good
curation
at
now.
that.
I bet you are.
Yeah.
We'll
I have
swap
to,
playlists.
I have to
Well, okay.
focus really hard.
We'll all
Pop
four of it.
quiz.
We'll each put a playlist
God.
in the show notes.
Well, what better place to close it out, huh?
All right,
Yeah.
DJ Jazzmatazz.
Yes, Jazzy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was
Jazzie
so
Young.
much fun.
Check her out everywhere.
Just love the tour stories with Dad, and I am pleased to say I found a couple of videos from that, so I'm putting the links in the show notes so you can see some of that beautiful family musical magic, along with links to Jazzie's music and all the other pertinent things, and also random shit we discussed in the episode. She left us guessing on what's coming next, but I have it on good authority that she's working on that full-length album with Rockerness cameo king, John Velasquez. Check out episode 5, and you will understand why that is so exciting. Also, does Tony know how to bring people together or what? I can't wait to hear what they come up with. It's sure to be fire. So make sure to follow Jazzie on all the socials. That's Jazzie Young on Instagram. We'll put all that in the show notes along with all of ours as well. And we hope you'll follow us, subscribe to the pod, and rate and review if you like what you hear as much as we love making it. Thanks for listening, and TTFN, that's ta-ta for now, Zoomers. See ya!